We will call this meeting of the Murphysboro City Council to order here on Tuesday, December the 22nd. And as always, I'd ask that we would have an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll lead us in the invocation here at the start of the meeting. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you once again for this opportunity to come together as the Murphysboro City Council. We're very thankful for the work of the members of the council, and we're thankful for our staff and employees and the concerned citizens that are with us tonight that are all participating in this democracy that we're thankful to have here in this country. We continue to pray for those people affected by the coronavirus outbreak. Pray for all the medical people that are working in the hospitals and delivering the vaccines, and we just pray that your hands would be on all of their efforts so that we can see some kind of normalcy in the near future. And we just pray your blessing on this meeting, that our decision would be your will and not our own. In your holy name we pray, amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes. Alderman Hughes. She's there.
Alderman Hughes.
Alderman Curry-Witzman.
Mayor, this is Chief McBride. We're not able to hear Ms. Hunziker.
Can't hear me? Okay.
I'm going to assume she said me, but I can't hear either. I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Well, start from the top. All right, well, I don't hear us right until the start of the meeting, but now no one is able to hear us, so I'm going to
Mayor, we can hear you, Will. Yeah. Will, it's Mike. I can hear you loud and clear, but nothing else, and I hear music or a TV in the background.
I believe.
You may have to call a roll call, Will.
Well,
Talking right into it.
I'll go through it.
Here.
Alderman Curry-Witzman.
Here.
Alderman
Here.
Alderman,
Here.
Alderman McCall.
Here.
Alderman Urbis.
Here.
Alderman Bratton.
Here.
Alderman Bastian.
Here.
Alderman Campos.
Here.
Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Who am I?
Thank you.
Is that everybody?
You.
Okay.
And you're
Mayor Stevens here.
You're here.
Okay. Very good. So we've got that taken care of. Up first in our agenda this evening is the consideration of council minutes from December the 8th, 2020, and I'd entertain any questions or comments on the minutes.
Well, this is Alderman Urbis. I had one.
Mr. Urbis.
on page 1, towards the bottom, the St. Roch's School, I think we need to add something. And Mr. Sheffer, the bill that we reviewed was 6101, and Mr. Sheffer said it was supposed to be 5,000, and I believe he added that he was going to redo the bill and it would be 5,000, and I believe that was on our bills tonight. So I think the minutes should reflect that we're not paying the 61, but just the 5,000.
I think that's a good amendment, and Clerk Hunziker will make that amendment.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Other amendments to the minutes?
Make a motion, yes, sir.
Is there a second?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. McComb and a second from Alderman Bratton. All in favor of adopting the minutes as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us into the consideration of accounts payable registers, and I'd entertain any questions on those registers. We have lists 78, 79, 80, and 81, and 82.
This is Alderman Bratton. I've got a question on list 79 on 22.
Okay?
Striping on E11 and Ranger. What is that?
What page is he on?
That's the fire department. We had some striping that was in disrepair on engine 11 and had the striping redone. In fact, they were working on that again today to finish it up. And then the new UTV, putting some decals on the city of Murphysboro, and that's on the new UTV. That was Krista Shavo was doing that for us.
I'm well, is that Ranger? That's the side-by-side now?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, where's it at?
It's down at Fire Station 2.
Is that just for the fire department, or is that for the public works and
That is for any department can use that. We're in the process of getting the emergency equipment put on it, and we're having lights put on it for both fire and police and public works use.
Thank you for that information. I think I've got another one or two. Same register on page 8. P&P Properties, the $5,000, that's on North 15th Street.
I believe that is a check that we are going to have a further discussion about later in the meeting, so we're welcome to hold that if we wish for the time being.
Okay. Let's hold that until we get done with the meeting then, okay? And on page 10, we've got Super Circuits Work Comp Grant. We wrote 2 checks out. What is that?
Those were cameras that were purchased on the work comp grant from our insurance company.
Okay. And then I see on the last page of that, number 12, is that the same Ranger that we had decals put on, that we had emergency lights and stuff
Yes,
put on
that's
also?
correct. Yes, that's correct. I paid for the emergency lights out of my spiller pays fund, and then I used the $495 came out of contingency for the installation.
Okay. That's all I have.
Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Hughes?
I have one comment on account on accounts payable list number 79 on page 4, at the top, there's a First Bank and Trust that was a $100 bill for the recertification of the appraisal for the line of credit. I spoke with the bank today, and they are going to not charge us that amount. They're going to waive that amount.
Well, thank you for making that outreach, and we will make sure when we make this motion that we do not include that in the payables. Other questions on the bills this evening? All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to...
Sorry.
Gloria, did you have something?
Yes, please, and it is in the same register in 79. Hold on, I lost the page. Oh, yeah, it's, and please enlighten me. What is the glow plug? Just to know, because I'm totally ignorant about that. And that is on page 10, Silent Striker. Just wonder if I need one of those.
Yeah, that was mine, Tim Lee, Water Department.
Okay.
That was a part for a small tractor. A glow plug is for a diesel tractor to help start it in the winter.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions on the bills this evening? I'd entertain a motion to pay the bills, accepting the $100 to First Bank and Trust and the temporarily the money for the 15th Street property.
So moved. Alderman Bratton.
I heard a motion from Mr. McComb first, and then I heard a motion from Mr. Bratton. Mr. Bratton, are you willing to amend that to a second?
Yes, I am.
All right, we have a motion and a second to pay the bills, accepting those noted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. That takes us to our committee and commission reports. Up first, we have Budget and Finance, chaired by Mr. W.J. Pittman. W.J.?
Thank you, Mayor. Under old business, we have an update on PACE financing and consideration of ordinance.
I can speak to that, W.J.
If you would.
Had a meeting earlier today via teleconference with our city attorney, Richard Blake, as well as folks from the Illinois Finance Authority and also a capital lending group called Stonehill Financing. And I want to turn this over now to Richard Blake. I believe he is on the call. Richard, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Mayor.
Richard, could you just give a brief summary of that call and sort of your perspective on where we might be with the potential presentation of an ordinance to the council in the coming meetings?
Well, it was a good telephone conference meeting. Basically, I believe at the last meeting, it was basically discussed how the PACE financing works. How it works is once the program is in place, then it's a special assessment by a commercial property owner that wants to participate in the financing, and it's for limited purposes such as those type of improvements that have some type of environmental type of improvements to the premises. And I know at that Solar Alliance that we're planning to do improvements that would fall under these requirements. Basically, once the program's in place, it's not a cost to the city to do this type of financing that Solar Alliance is planning to do. Stonehill, they had representatives in this meeting. They would be the capital provider, making basically the lender for Solar Alliance in the project. Basically, and this was at the recommendation of Brad Fletcher from the Illinois Financing Authority. he thought that it would be best that at this point, if the city does take part in this program, that we at this point limit the program to that one project. In the future, if there's other properties throughout the city that would like to take part, we can always amend our ordinance to include other properties. The procedures to get started is basically for the city to enact an ordinance providing for the program. That ordinance would provide for who the administrator would be. Stonehill says that in their loans that they provide that administration themselves. So we would have Stonehill be the administrator for this particular project. They are the ones that goes through and prepares what we call a program report that is part of the ordinance. In our discussions, we can have the model ordinance tailored for the city by the next meeting. It would be something that the personnel, Brad Fletcher and others at Illinois Finance Authority would want to review. I know they like to stay involved in the program and all the steps to make sure everything's done right. So this is something that we could have in the works and started by enacting an ordinance at the next city council meeting. It would have looked like at this point. It's of no cost once this program is up and involved. The costs involved in the financing and doing the bond financing that is involved are all considered transaction fees that are included in part of the loan process itself. So that doesn't provide an extra cost to the city. It would just be our work in preparing the ordinance to get the program up and started and running.
Richard, thank you for that update, and I hope that between now and our meeting in January that we can have a ordinance together. And if anyone has any questions about it, I'm happy to talk to them over the phone or give Richard a call to pick his brain because he's been in on these meetings. But this is sort of the key that will unlock the financing so that project can get underway. So I just wanted to provide that update, and that's all that I have to share on it.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The next item under old business is the update on the approval of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021. Richard, you're going to update us on that?
Well, actually, Alderman Pittman, I can give an update on that item. It had been planned that we would have our public hearing for tonight's meeting. It falls on us at our office that our publication did not get published in time to have the meeting tonight. What we have done is we have done a publication setting the public hearing next Tuesday, December 29th at 5:45 to have our public hearing. We have gotten the publication, so that publication is done, so we're ready to do the public hearing next Tuesday, and we'll have to have a special meeting at 6 following that public hearing at 5:45 to approve the annual budget.
Okay. So we'll be getting another meeting next Tuesday. Is there anybody that has?
Yes, we'll have a special meeting Tuesday, December 29th a public hearing on the budget Tuesday, December 29th at 5:45, and following that at 6, a special meeting to approve the annual budget.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Okay, you're welcome.
That is the last item. Go ahead, Dan.
Is this going to be like a meeting like we're having tonight, or are we going to be face to face? It will be like tonight. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right. Under new business, we have presentation of financial reports by Scott Evans, Budget Officer. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, WJ. I just have 2 tonight, but I'm very happy with the outcome of these reports. So in your packet is the usual sales and home rule tax report that I provide, and so I'm happy to say that the allotment for this month is $304,110, beating last year at this time by $30,000 and beating any other December on our chart here. So for the year, we have received $3,516,000 between these two taxes. So that beat our mark last year by about 200,000, which had been almost the same as 2018. So a really big number in a really strange year. So I think we should consider ourselves fortunate to be in that position on that tax for sure, since that's our largest single revenue source. So that's good news. If you flip over to the next page, we also have received our December allotment of the income tax, and that was $53,041. That also was larger than any previous December on this chart. And so that number is $866,000 for the entire year. So that as well has exceeded last year's number. So both positive developments for sure. And but again, we'll see what 2021 holds. But certainly two things to be happy about, those two taxes. So that's all I have as far as reports tonight. Are any questions about those or anything in general?
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. All right, next item under new business, we have TIF application for 1310 Walnut Street. We do have a memo from Moran Economic Development in our packet.
And WJ, I do believe that we have Rob Lopez on the call with us this evening. He is one of the folks involved in this particular business, so if you want to give him an opportunity to speak, certainly, I'm sure you wanted to be aware of that.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez, I believe you are on mute.
There you go. Hi, sorry about that. Yes, I'm Rob Lopez. I'm on the board, the LLC board for Miranda's Loom, and the owner of Miranda's Loom is actually sitting next to me, my wife Leanne. So she would have she knows all the information about the business. I'm just the extrovert.
Understood. So we have your TIF application. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business and what your plans are?
Sure. Thank you for considering us. My business carries the work of about 25 artists, including myself. We focus on functional art. Everybody is an independent small business themselves. And as far as brick and mortar wise, we did that for 2 years in Urbana, Illinois, and it was going well until COVID hit. And so the 1310 building pretty much needs everything. We just tore off the old tar roof and Clover roofing, putting a roof on it. We're doing plumbing, electrical, floors, tore out a drop ceiling. There's tin up there to restore. That's about where we're at. I appreciate you considering your application.
Yeah, thank you for coming to the meeting and sharing what you're doing. We're very excited about all of the things that are going on downtown and the continued positive energy there. Mr. Pittman, do you want to, I believe that they have looked at a couple of options. I believe it's option A that they are, I have to review that. Perhaps they can tell us, do you remember which option it was on this TIF that you were requesting?
It was 100% for 5 years and 50% for the next 5.
The reflection of the enterprise zone benefit, basically.
Okay, Mayor.
Yes.
How does that compare to the last few TIF agreements that we've made?
It's very similar.
I mean, as far as like the percentage annual reimbursement, is that the same as what we've done?
Well, the developer or the consultant has made recommendations, and the enterprise zone benefit, if you take the TIF benefit, it cancels the enterprise zone benefit, and so these agreements are being structured in a way that becomes similar to the enterprise zone benefit, if that makes sense. And that's what we have been adopting.
It does. Okay, then do we need to decide which one we're going to approve, or is we just take Moran Development's recommendation?
Well, ultimately, it's our decision, the council's decision, to approve, but I believe that it is Moran's recommendation and the business owner's preference to, I'm not sure which one of the options, whether it be B1, B2, or C.
Okay, so B2 looks like that mimics.
I believe it is B2.
B2 looks like the one that mimics the enterprise zone.
That is the one that I believe we are being asked to, recommended to make a motion on.
I would entertain that motion if anybody wants to make it.
So moved, Alderman McComb. Alderman Baston will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We should probably take a roll call vote.
All right. I'll go ahead and call that roll call just because I know we had issues with the audio earlier. So give me just a second to get back to my list to make sure I don't miss anybody. We'll go to Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
Ms. Curry-Witzman.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
Mr. McComb.
Yes.
Mr. Urbis.
Yes.
Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
Mr. Bastian.
Yes.
Ms. Campos.
Yes.
And Mr. Pittman.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
All right, motion passed. All right, I'd like to thank the property owners for joining us tonight and appreciate you guys investing in our downtown.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, last item under new business is consideration of changes to 38 utilities. I talked to Tim Lee about this earlier. There's a couple different fees that he would like to get more in line with what the costs are. They haven't been updated since 2011. Currently, we have a reconnect charge of $50 and $75 if it's done after hours. Because of the cost of sending the guys out after hours, and just to update the current fee, we would like that to change to $75 for the reconnect fee and $100 to the after-hour reconnection. Said the after-hour reconnection is a rare occurrence, that most of the time the people will wait till the next day and do the regular reconnect fee anyway. And I don't know, Mayor, will we need to make a motion to change these individually, or can we just talk about all the changes and then update this all at once?
Well, I guess I'd ask Richard Blake if this is something that is...
I believe that you can make a motion to approve everything. As is suggested by what was in the city council packet, and I have an ordinance drafted doing all of that to be signed.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Alderman Pittman, this is Tim.
Yes.
I wanted to leave the reconnect fee for during business hours at 50, but just leave the after hours reconnect from 75 to 100.
So the current one will stay 50, and then after hours will go from 75 to 100. Thank you, Tim.
Correct. Yes, thank you.
And then the tap fees, he also wants to update. Inside city limits would go from $1,000 to $1,250 on a 3/4 inch water tap, and from $1,200 to $1,500 on a 1 inch. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, that is correct.
And then outside city limits would be $1,500 on a 3/4 and $1,750 on a 1 inch tap. And then the last page of that those revisions, he said those are subdivisions that are at capacity, so the special assessments and the fees, the assessment fee that are charged for those, that language is no longer needed in that document. So, Tim, do you want to add anything to that, or does anybody have any questions for Tim?
No, I think you covered it well.
I guess my only question is I understand raising it for the after hours because, you know, the additional cost. Can you just talk to me a little bit more about why we think we need to raise it outside city limits, just generally speaking?
On that piece?
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have made that more clear.
Okay. Well, basically, where we are now, we're not really making much of a profit with the price of materials that have gone up over the last, 10 years at least. Outside city limits does require hauling equipment, trailer usage, fuel, etc. And the 1-inch materials have gone up quite a lot in the last couple of years as well. So the $100 more for a 1-inch tap is not going to cover even the meter anymore. But just to keep them losing money and maybe making a small profit, that was the purpose.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Well,
Anybody like to make a motion to adapt those revisions?
So moved, Alderman Brad. Second, Alderman McComb.
We have a motion and a second. Mayor, do you think we need a roll call vote on this one?
I don't have any problem calling that if we need, if that's what you'd prefer, WJ.
With it being orange.
I don't think we have to have a roll call vote on it. I don't know. Clerk Hunsaker, your opinion?
With an ordinance, I think we do.
All right, we're going to go for a roll call vote just out of a good measure. We'll go to Ms. Hughes,
Yes.
Ms. Curry-Witzman,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. McComb,
Yes.
Mr. Urbis,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mr. Bastian, Mr. Bastian,
Yeah.
thank you. Ms. Campos,
Yes.
Mr. Pittman,
Yes.
motion carries.
I'd like to mention too, Mr. Mayor, that I'd like to thank Ms. Sandra Ripley for helping me with research and preparing this.
Very good. Thank you, Sandra, for everything you do.
All right, that's the last item under new business. Is there any public comment under budget and finance? Hearing none, we can move out of budget and finance.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Pittman. That takes us to Building and Grounds, chaired by Mr. Gary McComb. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I don't know if this would be to bring up under old business or new business, but I don't want to see that cemetery fund money taken away from it. Reason B, we got 2 trees out there now that has to come down. And we've been spending money out of that fund, and they say 10,000, between 10 and 11,000 ain't much money, but it is when we go doing maintenance at the cemetery, because if I cut the trees out of there, the extra money you put in Darren's tree fund, it has to come out of there, and we can leave that money in there and keep that line item open. Because I am getting a bid right now on 2 trees that's got dead stuff hanging in it. We sure want something to fall on somebody out there. And I'm not too happy it was taken out there to start with without somebody consulting me on it. I've been trying to keep the money down on cemetery. I think our mowing last year, I got it down to like 35,000, something like that. And I'm shooting for to try to cut it down a little bit this year if we can, and I think the cemetery still look nice.
if we leave it up to the contractors, they want to mow every Monday, and we just can't afford it. But I want to bring that up because I like to see that line item put back in and that money put back in that cemetery fund. That's what I was supposed to start with. I realize we pay the mowing out of the general fund and budgeting, but we don't budget like last year. I had to buy 8 loads of dirt, 4 for each cemetery. I bought a load of rock out of that money, and we ended up putting the money that we cut some trees with out of Darren's fund back in to Darren's fund so they could cut the trees on 14th Street and put the new sidewalk in. So I would just like to see that line item put back in there and that money back in that item. I would listen to anybody else's input on this if they would like to put it in there.
Well, I know that Scott Evans, I think, had been looking at that for a while. Scott, do you want to talk about why you felt like that was something that ought to be done?
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, we're not taking money away. We're budgeting to use that money for trees or whatever purpose. If you remember that fund, the entire distance of that fund originally would have been to be large enough to create earnings, and then those earnings were used to supplement the city's general fund for things that we were spending out of general fund for cemetery upkeep. But over the years, we have used that money for various projects, and we certainly don't get the money coming back into that fund as we once did. As those graves age and over time, fewer and fewer people would put money into that fund. So therefore, it's been dwindling ever since. So our thinking was, since this is being covered by general fund anyway, that we would slowly phase that particular fund out. Doesn't mean we wouldn't fund these projects. It just means we'd fund them in a different place, out of general fund instead of this extra fund, which just creates extra busy work, honestly. So that was the purpose of this whole thing. Not to take any money away from anything, but simply to over time, rework how we budget and pay for the cemetery upkeep.
The way I understood it, Gary, the way I understood it, you were concerned that, this money would just get sort of washed into the morass of the general fund, and then we wouldn't be, able to access dollars for things like cutting trees and whatever. Is that the primary concern, Gary?
Yeah, that's the primary concern. I've watched every way I can to save the general fund money out there on the mowing and stuff. But just like I was getting a price on these 2 trees, they're too big for Darren to cut. He cannot reach them. We looked at them, and Darren has cut some trees out there, which I really appreciated, because the trees are getting older out there and pretty dangerous. But we got 2 now that need to come down, preferably this winter if we could. Where are they going to take that money out of the general fund? I don't want to see it come out of Darren's tree fund, because we put extra money in there to get some trees down that he wants to get down. Well, how are them 2 trees coming down going to be paid for, Scott?
Well, actually, since we have budgeted to spend that $10,000 out of the cemetery trust fund, they could easily be charged there to utilize that money we budgeted for. So that was our thinking, to use that fund for that purpose.
Well, that's fine. I'm going to get them 2 trees down, because I've got enough dirt out there now. I had 4 loads brought into each cemetery. I just got to get Clover out there and scatter it where we need it. And he said he'd do that when the weather got better, so I don't know when that's going to be. But that was my concern. I don't want to take money out of Darren's fund to cut trees out there. But he ends up using all his money every year.
Right, so that was part of the thinking. He had mentioned some of these larger trees to us, so we felt like, so that it wouldn't come out of his regular line item budget, then we would budget to use the money out of the cemetery fund. So that's where that $10,000 number comes from, and hopefully that's more than enough do the job, but maybe not.
Yeah, it'll get those 2 trees down and then have quite a bit left over, I'm sure. We're trying to get him down in a stretcher. He can come down and get us some bed on them now. But they're big trees and they're dangerous, and our bucket truck will not reach them. Well, if that's what we're going to do, I guess we do it. I just would like, being it's under building and ground and I take care of the cemetery, somebody said something, well, you know, before this was all done, and hey, we're going to take that out of there.
Well, that the situation is such that it won't take any money away, but I do want to make sure that that money continues to be allocated toward maintenance at the cemetery and doesn't get moved or lost, so to speak, in the larger general fund. And Scott, what I'm hearing you say is that that's not going to happen?
No, if need be, we could even create a new line within the general fund. We have the one for the cemetery maintenance contract, but we could also specifically create a line in the building and ground section of general fund specifically for projects like that in any given year. We don't have to have a whole separate fund with a whole separate checking account necessarily to accomplish that. It can easily be done by a line item in the budget earmarked for that.
So I'll be satisfied with that.
Okay.
Okay, get back to this. There's no old business and no new business. Any public comment on building and grounds? Hearing none, Mayor, come out building and grounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate it. That takes us to Community Relations, chaired by Mr. John Urbis. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business. We have no new business. Is there any public comment or any comment or questions from the council members?
I guess I would say that I just continue to get a lot of positive comments from people about all of the Christmas decorations and lights downtown, so that's definitely creating some very positive community relations. I got a message today from somebody who lives in California that's originally from Murphysboro, and they were commenting about how nice that it looked. And so anyway, I just thought I would share that here at this moment.
Yeah, I think we can move on then.
Thank you, John. That takes us to Public Improvement, chaired by Mr. Mike Bastian. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. We have nothing listed under old business and we have nothing listed under new. Do we have any public comment? Mayor, we can move on. I'll close the...
Mike, this is Alderman Pearson.
Yeah. Alderman Pearson.
Do we have any update on the junkyard?
I have not heard
anything. Maybe Eric's there. Nothing moved down there since the last meeting.
I've not heard anything, Alderman Peterson. Maybe have an update.
This is Richard Blake. I'll update that Eric's notice, it was a correction action order under the zoning code. It gave him 30 days. It was mailed December 7th, and that 30 days would run from when it was mailed, so we're not up to 30 days yet. Mr. Cripps did drop off some paperwork to our office this week. It deals with where he had applied with the state of Illinois for a vehicle, a vehicle salvage part operator or something to that effect for a location at 729 North 17th Street, which we sent him. We've drafted the letter. Make some revisions. It will go out tomorrow, pointing out to him that what he sent with us deals with a different address. His property is 1220 North 19th Street that we're dealing with here, and I've directed him to contact Mr. Kennedy with any questions that he has.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Any alderman comments? Okay, I guess, Mayor, with that being said, we can close public input.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bastian. That takes us to Public Works, chaired by Mr. Dan Bratton. Dan?
Okay, under new business, we got consideration of expansion of wastewater infrastructure on Country Club Road. Is the developer on the line?
I do not think that he is.
Okay. Until, it's just my opinion, and I'm just one of 10, that until we find out more information, until he can show us that he can get the easement or whatever, so we can take him in, and the people are in between him and Walmart are willing to come into the city to where we can run that. I don't see us spending money and having attorneys check out this, that, and everything else until we get more information. I also wonder if anybody, I know one of the aldermen has tried to look him up, Better Business Bureau, on the name of his company, can't find it, to check him out. More or less, basically what I'm saying, I'm for the project. I would back it if I was still going to be in office when it's voted on. But until we get more information on this particular thing, it's kind of like what they did today as Congress. They voted on something they hadn't even read. We don't have enough information. I'll open it up to the other council members for their opinion, and we'll definitely entertain a motion to put it on hold. But I am not wanting to kill it. I'll be glad. I think we'll be willing to sit down with the developer when he brings us the information we need and assist him and possibly participate in the cost of running the sewer. I'll open it up. Any comments from any of the other aldermen?
Dan, I do have a question.
Okay.
I know at the last meeting, we said that the developer's engineer should send a annexation agreement or something for our city attorney to review. Richard Blake, do you know if anything arrived at your office since then?
Nothing has been received yet.
Okay, thank you. That was
Not to my knowledge, and I know, yes.
that was my question.
I make a motion, we move this part to our next meeting in 2 weeks.
All right, we got a motion.
Aston, I will second that motion because I think we need to get that annexation information from them.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We'll put that on hold. The next thing we have under new business is consideration of highway authority agreement and groundwater ordinance for the 1112 North 14th Street, formerly Lee's Food Mart. Mr. Blake, do you want to address that, or does someone else want to address it?
I can address it, but I know Mr. Kennedy's not on the line. I hadn't seen this until today. The Highway Authority Agreement, that's a standard document that IEPA requires in getting a no remediation letter for a property that has had underground tanks. I know that North 14th Street, of course, that's under the jurisdiction of the state of Illinois. This Highway Authority Agreement only applies to a short section of Boss Lane. So that's what it covers. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary about it. For the groundwater ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater, that again is a standard ordinance. We've passed these before in helping these locations that have had underground tanks get a no remediation letter. This one. I noticed some errors in it, primarily in the parcel numbers in the body of the ordinance itself. There's some mistakes as compared to what is in the map, but I've put that ordinance in a proper form to pass with those parcel numbers where the errors that appeared there corrected. If that's something that the city wants to move forward with now, or if you want to wait for Mr. Kennedy so he can elaborate further on this project and where it's at.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I have never understood, and I don't know that I ever will understand, why we have to adopt these ordinances when we already have a blanket ordinance in the city of Murphysboro that does not allow for wells to be used as a potable water supply. Richard, can you explain why we pay this money every time one of these things comes up to everybody to push all this paper around when we already have a blanket ordinance?
Actually, we don't have one as to not use of any groundwater. It's property by property is how they're done. So we don't have an ordinance for just a blanket prohibition against the use of groundwater.
Well, I've read it before. I mean, I'll look it up. I'll send you a copy of it. But I
wasn't aware that there was. But
I just don't. I don't need to mean to belabor the point. It just every time one of these comes up, I think about that. So it's not that we don't need to adopt it, but.
Do we need to move this to the next meeting so we give Mr. Kennedy a chance?
I don't have a problem with that.
I'd make that motion.
Do we have any objections to putting it back on for next meeting? The council members or the mayor?
I have no objection.
Pardon?
I said I have no objection to that.
Okay. None of the council members, let's put it on hold till next meeting. Okay, the last thing under new business, I just want to bring up, and Harold, Mr. Sheffer, if you would be kind of thinking in your mind what the expense would be to finish protecting the sewer line. It's a ballpark price. I'll address that later. I'd appreciate it. My concern is the hotel looks great. I don't want to stop construction. I don't want to be a big A. But we've paid for this bike trail expense, and to my knowledge, I don't think we've been reimbursed. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And likewise for the sewer line. I think at some point, I'd like to get the feedback from the rest of the council on this, what they think we should do, but we don't think the city can afford to take I don't know, what, with a couple $100,000 for the sewer line. We don't have the protection dirt and everything else that we got to have on there, and this bike trail that we paid out of our pocket also. So, Mr. Shepard, do you have any ballpark idea what we'd be talking about to finish that protection on that sewer line?
No, I think the plan was to, we did talk with Scott Holcomb, with Holcomb Foundation Engineering, and we have now the recommendation, so we are going to prepare a plan sheet showing what, exactly how much soil needs to be put back in there, and I guess it was my understanding that we were going to get a price from his contractor in order to do that. But we can certainly put an estimate on it.
Yeah, I think so. And I apologize to you, Mr. Shepard, for not calling you today and asking you to do this instead of hitting you kind of cold on this. But
that's fine. That's fine. No, we've been talking about it, and we will try to get that plan sheet showing exactly what needs to be done and how much dirt by sometime next week.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. Do I have any input from any of the aldermen on this?
I have a question on the bike trail. Mayor, you handle that with Joe. Do we have any paperwork on that, or we just have his word that said I may pay $40,000 for that bike trail?
There was a letter that he sent to the city giving his commitment. I think the ultimate price on that, our share, was $26,000 and change. It was a 3 governmental units, just to refresh everybody's memory that participated in that. It was the City of Carbondale, Jackson County, and the city of Murphysboro. I think the total cost on it was somewhere around $75,000 or something, and that was what our third came out to be.
Will, aren't they supposed to bring that on from where they fit, all the way into the motel?
There is currently a grant being pursued, I believe, by the Revitalize 62966 committee with the collaboration of IDOT to bring the bike trail on into Murphysboro from Airport Road. I don't remember when that is supposed to be awarded or announced or whatever, or if we'll get it, but I know that that's in the works.
Well, that's a good deal.
And Mayor, to be fair, when we got the letter from Joe about that bike trail, he did tell us if we couldn't find another means to pay that he would volunteer to pay that. And I don't know that we ever searched for any other means to pay for that. We just took that as, okay, we'll take Joe's money and he'll pay for that. So, I mean, it's something that's going to be useful. I mean, it's not like it's going to draw a ton of business to his hotel. I think it was a letter of good faith at the time, but I mean, it will be, fairly useful to the citizens of Murphysboro, once it's all the way into town.
Yeah, and I think that it was, the vision there for the larger region was the Trans-America Bike Trail that runs from Norfolk, Virginia out to Washington State, comes right through New 13 there, and trying to improve that tourism infrastructure, will keep those people that are riding across the country coming through town. That doesn't, the commitment was made, certainly not questioning, and I can definitely go back and get that letter. It would certainly be in my email.
Okay, that would be great if you could do that, Mayor. That'd be great. Maybe we can discuss that part of it further at our next meeting. Do we have any feedback on what the rest of the council thinks we ought to do about this sewer line?
Dan, this is Barbara. May I speak?
Yes.
We've done without this money for reimbursement for this sewer line and or the bike trail for several years now. And the bottom line here is we're seeing a lot of progress on this hotel. I personally would like to keep this on a back burner, both of these, until we're opening a hotel. I understand that we took his word for it in good faith and but in all fairness, this man has put millions and millions of dollars into a motel, not open yet, but in all fairness, it's going to bring people to our town. I, for one, would just like to see us lay low on this until after that's all opened up.
I agree with
Danny? Danny?
Yes. Alderman Cole.
Well, really, I think instead of going after Joe, he's not the one. He may be responsible, I don't know. But the one that done all this, Joe ain't the one that told him, Rawson, to pull that dirt off there and expose that sewer line like he did. To me, it's on Rawson, and I don't know if Rawson was working for Joe or a general contractor. But it should fall back on Rawson, and if he was working for a general contractor, that general contractor.
It is, but I respectfully disagree with you somewhat on that, Gary. I think that our business dealings is with Joe Capias, and I don't want to mess that relationship up. And he was the general contractor for his project. So basically, he's the one, in my opinion, but then I'm not an attorney. So
Is there anybody else that wants to put any input before we come out of the meeting?
Yeah, Denny.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Bennett. Let me get Mr. Bennett. I heard him first, and then we'll go to the next. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to say that I heard Barb's comments, and I agree with Alderman. I agree with Barb 100%. It's my understanding, according to state statute of limitations, that we still have plenty of time to make a legal decision whether we go after him or not. And I would like to kind of hold back and let him get it open and getting going, because he has invested a lot. We're finally moving forward, and we have time to make that decision. And Alderman Bratt and I agree with you. I respect your opinion on it. It may not be, I think it was Alderman McComb that said that it should be, responsible to somebody else versus the owner. But I don't know. I think that's something that the legal counsel needs to determine who's responsible for paying that if we do choose to go after them. So, with that being said, I would like to kind of hold back a little bit on that. That's just my opinion.
This is Richard Blake. Alderman Bastian had mentioned the statute of limitations. It should be a 5-year statute of limitations.
Okay.
And I think we're only here for that.
Okay, was that Ms. Curry Whitman? Did you have a comment?
Gloria.
Oh, Gloria. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gloria.
Thank you. And really, this is, I understand that as a council, we are responsible for taxpayers' money, and we owe to our community the responsibility of being overlooking how this money is used and not misused. Having said that, Joe Capayas have done an investment in our town when no one have done it before, and he's doing this investment, looking into the bike trail, looking into the future. Right now, the situation as a multiple business are going down the drain. He's still up, putting up this hotel, and he's might be building hotel, but he's not a chain like he is Holiday Inn. So he's putting his own money in there. In the spirit of Christmas, I'm just telling you, everybody, I don't think that oven is ready for those cookies. That this is not the time to come up with the money, because he's making a big investment where the economy is not moving forward. You see what I mean? Hotels, all the service industry is down. And I don't think that this is the moment for us to pursue this. I agree with Barb Hughes that we need to put this in the back burner for later on, and I really appreciate you, Alderman Bratton, for bringing this up, but maybe for later on, but not right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Campos. Is there any other alderman like to have an input?
Yeah, Danny, is Alderman Nervous?
Yes. Go ahead.
Well, I definitely agree with what Barb and just what Gloria said, and I don't think we should forget it, but I think we should take it off the agenda. I think it looks bad that we're even considering it with him, what he's invested in just trying to get this hotel open, and we need to welcome him to the city, not make it look like we're going after him. So I really, I'm not opposed to looking at it later, but I think we should have it off the agenda even. So.
Okay, I appreciate your input. Is there anyone else?
Danny, do we need a motion to put this on the back burner? If we do, I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I don't think so. My main concern is that I just don't want to forgotten about, and I'm not saying we go slapping Bill down and this, that, and whatever on his face. I don't have a problem. I just don't think that we ought to forget about it. The longer it goes on, the easier it is to forget about it. So We'll move on. If there's no other questions or comments on this, we're going to go to public comment. Is there any public comment?
Yeah, Danny, I got one.
Okay.
This is under your agenda. The road going into the sewer plant. This is kind of for Harold. Harold, it don't seem like to me they got 8-inch of rock down there. Do you guys go down there and dig that a hole in it every 100 yards or so to make for sure we have got our 8 inches of rock?
Yeah, Mark Provo from our office was down there during that install. I mean, he was measuring as it was being installed. I mean, we certainly can do. I'll ask him if he did some cores. I'm not sure. I'm sure that he did in some areas.
Well, I mean, I did it. I drive down there every so often to see how everything went and looks, but the road it's not going to hold up. I don't believe at all. I think all that dirt, all that rock they put on top of that dirt when we get rain on it and stuff, traffic on it, it's just going to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just my opinion, but I'd like to have you go down there and see if we get 8 inches of rock. Now, that 8 inches of rock, is that a finished grade 8 inches?
Yes, it would be. I mean, I do know with the compaction we got on that, I mean, that dirt road space was some of the hardest I've seen in a while. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying about traffic on it and pushing it down a little bit, but I mean, that dirt base was pretty tough by the time we got done with it.
Yeah, I imagine so, but, rainwater and stuff, and when that river rages up, sitting under that, it's just, to me, I don't, personal opinion, I don't think that road, the gravel is going to hold it up to the traffic.
So we will do some cores, Gary, and let you know.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And
Okay.
I would just like to echo what Gary said quickly, because I drove down the wastewater treatment plant road today, and the first thing I thought when I turned off to it was there's not enough rock on this road, and it may just be, as Harold said, the way that it's settling or whatever, but I observed that and agree with what Gary said.
That's fine. That's good. There is one thing that I think that it's not on here, but I mentioned it to you, Sandra. We need to send a letter to Berkey Excavating and have them get rid of that crack hole. They got rid of one that burned. That's when they were removing trees. I think we need to send a letter and give him the timeline to get the track hole out of there. I don't know what the feeling of the rest of the council. Yes.
Do you know whose track hole that is?
I think it's Dean Bush's.
Well, Dean will probably be.
It's either Dean's or it's Sam Berkey's. I think it's Sam's. I think that one's Sam.
Well, my understanding, Sam's was the first one to burn up down by the park entrance, and it's already gone. And this other one, we need to research and find out if it's Sam's or Dean Bush's. But I'm sure either one of them. I know the first one was bid out for salvage, and some company got it and come and got it. But the guy told me the other one has never come up for a salvage bid. And I'm sure the insurance company has settled with them. But maybe the insurance company's responsibility to get that out of there too. I don't know. I just want to let you know that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll reach out to Sam and try to find out after Christmas whose track hole it is, and if it's Dean's or the insurance company. And if it's the insurance company, try to find out which insurance company it is so we can get that taken care of. With no public comment, Mayor, I think that we can come out of Public Works, and I appreciate everybody's input.
Thank you very much, Alderman Bratton. Appreciate that. That takes us to Public Safety, chaired by Mr. Russell Brown. Russell?
Yeah, we don't have anything under old business or new business. Got any public comment? Not working on public safety.
Thank you, Russell. That takes us to Personnel Committee chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes. Barb?
Thank you, Mayor.
Barb, are you still there?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am. My microphone was muted and I didn't realize it. There's no old business, Mayor, no new business, and is there any public comment on personnel or questions from the council? Hearing none, we can come out of that, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Barb. That takes us to the mayor's report. I guess we didn't really reference it, but I will reference it now. Included in your packet for informational purposes are some model ordinances from the Municipal League, the City of Carbondale, Fairview Heights, and Springfield, Illinois, concerning adult use cannabis, and those are for your review. As you know, we recently passed a 60-day moratorium on dispensaries of adult use cannabis opening in Murphysboro so that we can study the matter, and I suspect that we'll have it on the agenda for more in-depth consideration at our next meeting in January. I also thought that I would use this opportunity to go around and ask how everyone would feel about perhaps going back to in-person meetings at the high school cafeteria or perhaps some other situation. I know that these meetings are certainly not as always productive as in-person meetings, and so I wanted to get a little bit of feedback from the members of the council on this, and I'll just, because I see her video there on, go to Ms. Campos and get your thoughts on it, Gloria, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mayor, and oops, I turned off the video, and there you go. I am on. Okay. This is a wonderful tool, but I think the meeting, so the cafeteria of the high school is with plenty space, and I feel pretty good about hosting them. Hopefully the worst is behind us, and maybe in January will be a good idea to do it. I don't know if you, the council, or you will consider to do it after, let's say, passing Christmas and New Year, a couple of weeks after, to see how the numbers go, and hopefully it won't be any increase on it, and the vaccination will help to the people who need it. But I would like to go back to meetings in person. I wonderful to get things done, but it's not the perfect way. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. I saw Mr. Pearson's icon light up. Bill, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, of course, we'd all like to go back to the regular meeting until this COVID thing is way better than it is now. I'm not going to a public meeting. I'll just do mine from home.
Okay. Mr. Bratton?
Well, I'm on the phone because I couldn't get on the internet. Brian came by last week and I asked him to hook me up. So, I mean, it's whatever the majority of people want to do. The ones that don't want to come to the meeting, I'd say, do it at home. But you sure lose an awful lot. I don't have a problem meeting at high school. We've got plenty of social distancing and everybody wears their mask. That's not a problem for me.
All right, thank you.
Like it a lot.
Mr. Pittman?
Mayor, I would be fine with going back to meetings at the cafeteria.
Okay.
Well, all of them at home. I wouldn't mind going back to regular meetings.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bastian?
Yes, I'm okay with regular meetings, but I think you need to give all the aldermen their choice. If they want to call in, they ought to have that opportunity, or they can show up in person. But I'm okay with you calling a regular meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Mr. Urbis?
Well, all things being equal, I'd much prefer to be in person at the high school. It does concern me with potential uptick, so I don't know, maybe just kind of monitor it.
I think that's good advice and probably what I'll be doing. I saw the statewide positivity rate was down to 7.5%, but Region 5 was still around 12. But hopeful that the vaccinations coming out will help tick those numbers down to some extent. Ms. Hughes?
Well, that's what I was actually going to say, that the state was at 7.5, but Region 5 was still over 12. Until we get down to a lower number, I would prefer to not meet in person. So if you go back to in person, I will continue either on my phone or on the Chromebook.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. Ms. Curry-Witzman?
I'm okay with meeting in person. I do think we need to wait a little bit into January just to see what the numbers are like. And then also, too, if we're able to keep the in-person to just the aldermen and the department heads versus our constituents, maybe they can call in and we can just show in person if we're comfortable.
Thank you for that feedback. Thank you, appreciate that. And Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I'm okay with going back to personal meetings. I can do either one. Don't make any difference to me, but I prefer in.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate everybody giving me some feedback on that because I know that these are not ideal, and I just don't want to do anything that folks aren't comfortable with without getting some feedback. Mr. Manwaring, do you know any of the situation in terms of being able to use the cafeteria at the high school coming up in January and whatnot?
I don't know that anything has necessarily changed from where we were before as far as the school is concerned. Obviously, I can't officially speak for them. That would have to come from the superintendent. But I don't see the situation with the cafeteria being any different now than what it was before. It should still be available to us.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, that's all I have under the mayor's report at this time. And so I'll go to council member requests, and I'll go back to Ms. Hughes.
I don't have anything, Mayor, except I want everyone to have a blessed and safe holiday.
Thank you for that. Same to you. Ms. Curry-Witzman.
I don't have anything either. Happy holidays to everyone as well.
Thank you, Jance. Russell Brown.
No, I don't have anything. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Russell. Bill Pearson.
No, I don't have anything.
Thank you. Mr. McComb.
I'll just remember the reason for the season.
Amen.
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Urbis.
Thank you, Will. I don't have anything tonight. Just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hopefully a better year.
Amen.
Well, this year was good for sales tax, but not much else.
All right. Mr. Brown.
Well, I guess I have to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I really do. And be safe. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mike Bastian.
Yes, I just like to same wish everybody Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much. Ms. Campos.
Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Buon Natale to all in all the world, but really a blessed and Merry Christmas. And I'm not wishing everybody Happy New Year yet, because we're going to meet next Tuesday if you are forgetting about that. I'm just a sick reminder, okay? So, Merry Christmas all, and I'll talk to you next week before the New Year.
Thank you for the meeting, Gloria. I needed it. Mr. Pittman.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, very good. Go to department head requests, and we'll go to Attorney Blake.
I have nothing.
Ms. Ripley.
I have nothing as well. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Evans.
I do have something. I emailed a report to the council this afternoon. Hopefully you all got it, but it's concerning this Jackson Country Club development. I'm not going to go through the report now, but it's there available for you to read, and it kind of discusses some of the cost-benefit analysis of this project. So it's some food for thought and some numbers that you can chew on until we revisit that at a future meeting. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Harold Sheffer.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Chief McBride.
Nothing, sir. Merry Christmas to all.
Chief Ellermeyer.
Nothing, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
I don't believe Mr. Kennedy is on the call, so go to Mr. Lee.
Nothing, Mayor.
Brian Manwaring.
Nothing, just wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Darren Mills.
I have nothing.
Patrick Gladson.
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Volley.
I have nothing. Thank you.
All right, I think I got to everyone, I think. And Clerk Hunziker.
No, thank you.
All right. We do have an executive session that we need to attend to, and I'm not sure, Brian, how you want us to handle that in terms of an executive session on this call. Can you help us out?
If you'll let me know who needs to be in the executive session, if it's just council members and you, Mayor, I can excuse everybody else from the meeting and then lock the meeting so no one else can dial in or connect.
Yeah, it'd be council members and Attorney Blake, and that's and myself, and that's all I need. Actually, Chief Ellermeyer, if he could stay in as well, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Chief Ellermeyer, are you on the phone, or how are you connected to the meeting?
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Okay, all right, I see you now.
Go ahead and stop the regular meeting. Okay.
I guess I can go.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Brian, are we good?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the meeting locked here, and then I will get myself out of it.
Brian, I have no problem with you staying in just to manage any technical issues.
Okay, the meeting is now locked.
Okay. So I wanted to address the $5,000 check that was in the accounts payable earlier. There is a property at 631 North 15th Street that is a drug house. It is a nuisance house for the last 3 years. It has to be in the top 1 or 2 calls for service from the police department. I've gotten 4 of the surrounding neighbors have called me or messaged me or emailed me nearly every week for 3 or 4 years about issues at this home. And then just recently we had some stolen property recovered from the home, and I'll let Chief Ellermeyer speak to that some. The reason for the potential purchase of property is that this house has not had the taxes paid to it in 3 years. There is no water service there. There have been multiple occasions where the person living there has been stealing power from the neighbor. And I think that it would be wise for us to take the opportunity to buy this home so that we can clean up this issue. We have done a similar thing in the past with a house on Old 13 and 5th Street. And I would welcome Chief Ellermeyer to speak to the issues there, and then our attorney can speak to the legal aspects of it, and then we can open it up to further debate amongst the council. Chief Ellermeyer?